for Strength and Conditioning Coaches. This is our monthly update. My name's Jack McLean. It's a solo episode today. Bit of a different topic, something that's popped up in sort of my mind over the last couple of months, and just an interesting concept is around how we're measured as strength and conditioning coaches that work for football clubs. It's probably a little bit different to what students going in to the industry would perceive in how we're sort of judged and who we're measured, or who measures us, I guess, on our ability to do our role at a really high level. And it's probably just a good thing for the future coaches to consider and put energy into, not just the reps and sets, but also some other areas that they can cover to ensure that they can make the biggest impact at their football club. So I'll dive straight into it, but I've broken it down into 5 key departments. We've got our coaches, which is our technical, tactical coaches, which typically each football club would have a head coach and then a few assistants, and then a development coach. You've got obviously the playing group, so a list of 45 AFL players. A-League, I'm not sure. Rugby League, around 30 top listed players. Then you've got the medical team, which is obviously your doctor, or there might be a couple of doctors. Physiotherapists, usually is about 3. And then sports science and strength and conditioning coaches, which typically have a high performance manager, a strength and power coach, a rehab coach, reconditioning coach, and then the sports scientist. And then your management. So that's your general manager and football manager, administration. Important that you understand each lens that depending on where the key people are in making critical decisions, whether you want to get a promotion, whether you want to extend a contract, whether you're going for a role at a football club, anyone, or just simply just trying to do your best, make the biggest impact you can. Relationships with all these 5 key areas is critical, and also understanding their perspective and what do they value, so you can help influence that and ultimately work as part of the system within this organisation, which is critical in not only doing a good job, but also enjoying the workplace and how you fit into the environment. So we'll start with the coaches, and this was actually where I came up with the topic. I was recently speaking to a coach about a particular strength and conditioning coach, and asked them, what do they like to work with? What do they like, essentially, getting a bit of an insight. And I thought it was interesting. Their initial response was around not so much the programming side of things and the sort of bells and whistles that us strength and conditioning coaches probably think about all the time. It was more around their hobbies, how they conduct themselves in meetings. Do they challenge? Do they not? And more about their bedside sort of manner, how they make you feel, which no doubt that's how the coaches sort of think. Usually a lot of coaches come from playing background. Players are probably going to be quite similar as well. So a lot of the ways that they'll evaluate your effectiveness as a coach will be how you make them feel. And then it could be other things like some hobbies, things that you're into, perhaps music taste, some of those accessories that you bring to the environment, perhaps how you present, your communication skills. So all these things that perhaps when we're doing our degree, we're not spending a lot of time and energy, but they go a long way into your effectiveness in the organisation. And ultimately, the key decision makers, when you're about to get a role, or if you're going to get promoted or whatever it might be, they tend to be key stakeholders, which are head coaches, general managers, and leaders in the playing group. They have a big influence. So understanding how they sort of perceive strength and conditioning coaches is really, really important. Then you've got your other areas that I think coaches would recognise as important, which is your understanding of the sport and more importantly, the game model that we want to play and how you can contribute to that and develop athletes to suit that model. Are you comfortable to challenge players and handle confrontation? And one that probably would flow into all of these 5 key areas is work ethic. So your ability to roll up your sleeves and put in the work and do what's necessary for your role for the team or for the club. Players, a lot of crossover with the coaches, I think, but probably a bigger one for them is their belief in you, and that comes probably from your competency in your role, and within that, your confidence that you show every day, how you make them feel, and then, like I mentioned before, the bedside manner and your communication skills. From a medical point of view, how integrated are you with the medical team? Are your key decisions collaborative? Do you seek to understand from a medical perspective rather than just thinking performance? I think that's valued quite highly from a medical perspective. Obviously, your ability to be able to understand and be aware of the research, the latest research, and how to apply that from a practical point of view to your philosophy, and as well your ability to adapt due to medical reasons, so i.e. management of acute injuries or rehabilitation scenarios. From a management point of view, I think your impact on the environment, how you conduct yourself, the energy you provide to the group, and your relationships that you develop, I think is where you'll be judged more heavily on from general managers and football managers. And then the strength and conditioning coaches, which is probably where we spend a lot of our time and energy thinking about all the time, your prescription, your reps and sets, how you apply practical programs and give them life. So you may write the best strength and power program, but how is that executed? How are you able to make decisions on the fly and be agile, i.e. the football program may have gone well above. What does that mean for the gym in this afternoon? What are we changing? What are we sticking to? So what are we firm or where are we going to be agile and adjust to suit the football program and make sure that that's the front of our minds? But equally, where are we going with the periodized plan and knowing when to push and make sure we're getting enough work in and know also when to pull back, because the athletes are perhaps if you're on the edge and you're staring over the cliff and you know that if you keep pushing, you're going to break a few. So we want to make sure you got awareness around that and finger on the pulse, and you're able to not only know how the athletes are subjectively rating the session, but also you're across the data and you've got good objectivity to your decision making. So it's a short episode, just something that popped up in my mind a little while ago, and hopefully there's some value there. And ultimately, the message is don't just stick into thinking the world as a strength and conditioning coach. Seek to understand other perspectives in the football club, because ultimately we're a piece of the puzzle, but we need to solve that puzzle together. So if you can fit in within the system and have your big rocks that you know are important, but know when to adjust, that ultimately I think allows for the best product for the players and the coaches to be able to perform on game day. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully there's some tips there and some gems and maybe just some thinking time, which is a good one for the off season. I know a lot of people will be going for jobs this time of year, so hopefully it's quite fitting to October period. Remember, I've got 3 spots available for mentorship calls as well. So really enjoyed working with a few of the coaches that have been looking for progressions or perhaps their first full-time opportunity. Absolutely one of my passion projects. So if you want help in your career as a strength and conditioning coach, working in professional sport, or perhaps setting up your own business, book in a free discovery call with myself and we can perhaps see if we'd be a good fit into accelerating your career progressions. Thanks, guys. I'll see you in the next episode.